Welcome back, Addicts. We're here for episode 9 of Danmachi season 4, and man, we're getting into some juicy stuff. A very good episode for this one. A lot of it was action pieces, which I guess just to kind of start with that, I thought the fights were pretty good. Like they were decent. I definitely love seeing the first little phase of this bigger fight. I guess really the only thing that I hope we don't get a cut of is back with the rest of the Familia and the dungeon party. Because as much as I do want a really heavy focus like it was on the book with Belle and Liu and what they're facing, I think what was just as equally as exciting was seeing the rest of the Familia tackling what they have to go and face up against without Belle with them. So I'm really hoping that they don't do that. This episode, like the two monsters that showed up, they weren't really a big, I mean, they're still like a threat, but they're not like a huge threat in the book. So having it kind of completed in a matter of like minutes was fine to me. But I do like that, whenever they're getting into the more important fights, they are utilizing the animation correctly, not having as many cuts in that. I don't know why. For this show, I just love the story and I just love seeing it animated. So for me, not having the fights animated in a grandiose way isn't a deal breaker for me. But come on, like when you love a series, you want it to have good fights too, especially if that's part of the show. So yeah, I'm just, still excited to see the rest of the fight turn out. You do have I guess for lack of a better term in the moment, reveal from, Jurga and Turk's plan to bring on this despair from the dungeon, which I was thinking about it and I was like, I really loved Jurga as a monster tamer for this fight because it lets it be not only intense, right? Because, he's bringing in monsters from the deep levels, which are a bigger threat just in and of itself. But the fact that he is able to control them by, his will and not through, just like, a magic spell that he has, something that we see from other antagonists that have come up in the book. I really do like that change up. It lets this feel a bit more unique, and it's also one of the reasons why I made the statement in the last video of this is part of the reason why I don't want to see the evils again after this arc, because I think the way they ended the evils out in the book was great. I thought it was executed very well. And I also love what it did for Liu's character. So to me, I think it would, they could probably shoehorn it in some way. But I think it just settles really nicely from where they had it. And I don't really want them to taint that, which we're not even through that yet. So, that's a bit of more of like a book reader's perspective in current light. But, I do really like, also just like, that's not their, their main ace in their sleeve, right? That is just a part of their plan. And the real plan is to, like I said, bring on this despair of the dungeon, which I think is another element. It's not only cool to see, maybe threats that don't have a lot of power behind them necessarily in their own, off of their own strength, but that they're crafty enough to bring on this better threat. And also it just kind of sells, what's in the name of the evils, right? They're just batshit, right? And yeah, that was another element just for the universe as well that I just really find intriguing of the dungeon's reaction to a lot of damage, which we're going to see that in the next episode. So I won't go into detail about that here. But that was always something I thought was a really cool element as well that I'm itching to see what else they do, because, they've always kind of hinted that the dungeon is alive and kind of its own entity. Like it's, even Oranos prays to the dungeon. So, it makes you really wonder what's the whole extent, like what potential does it really have, especially when, you've come to know that, Xenos exist, right? Or Xenos. The pronunciation still messes me up between book and show. But anyway, that with reincarnated, intelligent monsters, what that has to do with it. So, the despair that we're going to see, or the reaction from all of this damage that they hint at in this episode, seeing that come to light, I think that's just another really cool element to the dungeon that I think just adds another layer to the world building that's just, intriguing. It's like a creative playground that I can't wait to see our characters in. But the other thing too with Liu, this is, I think, and the way they're doing it for the show, it might take until a couple episodes to realize, thinking back about this moment, or it could be, just, for just book readers for this episode. But I do really like, the whole, like the weight of this situation and what Jirga does, and just like how an emotional stab it is to Liu to set up this plan the way it does, I think is really cool. And if they elaborate on this in the later episodes, seeing Astria Familia via flashbacks, I think that'll be really cool, and really add to the revelation of that scene. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to talk too much about this episode or go for very long because it was mainly action heavy. But yeah, and I would like to say that, you're probably going to see, like, at one part of the episode, Belle actually has to hold Liu back from actually killing Jirga, which, and I've summarized it probably way better in one of our other videos, but if you were going to get down to just like a brass basics of it, I love that in this point it's, Belle's not really... in times past, he's saved people from, physical threats or like, circumstances that they weren't able to draw themselves out of. But for Liu, it's really almost saving her from herself. And I think it's just another props to Belle. Which, speaking of, Belle gets to really shine in this episode as well, just on his I gotta pronunciate here. Adaptability? No, that's not how you say that. Adaptability? There we go. In, how he's having to shake up his fighting style to fight the monster that, he hasn't faced before and is hard to get a read on, because it's so sporadic in its movements. But I really do like that. Again, like I said, to me, like, this changes after reading Volume 17. My ranking would be different, but pre-Volume 17, I would say Dix was always like my favorite antagonist, but I think one of the things that really led me love him as an antagonist in the series is just how twisted he was. And there was definitely a little bit more layering specifically for him, with the what was it, the Deadless Eyes and stuff that I really did like. But I think having a group like the Evils attached to him, or that he was a part of, I think clashes really well with somebody like Belle, that has really strong morals and a sense of, doing what is right, especially when it comes to protecting his friends and people that he sees as his family. So I think having more of that was always just a little treat and a nice end cap for not only, having a big moment in the dungeon, but with, like I've mentioned, with Liu. But maybe we can talk a little bit more in depth about that again sometime in the next couple episodes, or going back. But I would highly recommend, if you've been digging the arc so far and you want to read the book, highly recommend the book. There is even smaller details that the show won't cover, but the show's been doing a really good job of that. So I would still, even if you get past this arc, but you would just want a little bit more than these bite-sized videos, go watch our discussion and book review of this arc. I'll link it in this video. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to get out of here and probably continue watching the show. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, later and peace, addicts.